So back in October, I got my hands on the Nintendo Switch 2. And as the owner of the Switch 1, here's my opinion. Oh, but Jacob, why not just go watch Linus Tech Decks or something? I mean, you could. I'm not saying you have to be here. You're here because you enjoy my content or whatever. Regardless, you're here. Let's get into it. Now, before we get into all the this and that, and I'm not going to do all that. Now, if you want to go and see, like, all the specs of the Switch 1 versus the Switch 2, and, like, oh, here's the performance of this versus this, and, like, oh, the Switch 2 is like a PS4 or whatever. That's not going to be me. I'm not going to do that. Frankly, I'm not smart enough to do that. You're going to get the Switch 1 does not have a 2 on it like the Switch 2. That's all. Thanks for watching. I'm kidding. You're going to get a bit more than that. Let's start with hardware. And when I say hardware, I don't mean, oh, specs, this and that. I mean, how does it feel in hand? You know, how does it this and that? Like, I don't mean the actual hardware. And then when I say software, I don't mean what is in it, you know. I mean, like, quality of life changes, or how does it differ from the Switch 1? Things like that. Let's get into it. The whole idea of the Switch 1 was for family usage, right? You have all your little Joy-Cons, maybe like a Pro Controller, which I don't know where mine is at the moment. Your Pro Controller, you have your Joy-Cons, you know, you could put them together, you could hold them like that, or you could use the cool Mario connector that I have. Play with your friends, play with your family, you know, take it out, go do stuff. Switch 1 wasn't made to be some cutting-edge technology, right? It wasn't. You had the portability, you had the home console advantage, but you didn't have, like, the 4K, 1080p, whatever it was, whenever it came out back in... When did it come out? Siri, when did the Nintendo Switch originally come out? The Switch is almost 10 years old. I don't like that. What was I saying? So back in 2017, whatever the high-res stuff was, the Switch wasn't that. It was made for you to just put it in, pause, put it in the dock, play the game, and then, oh, I'm going to go to my class, and I have like 20 minutes to kill. Take the Switch with you, continue playing Mario Kart or whatever the hell you were playing. That's the purpose of the Switch. I've had the Switch 1 back whenever it came out in 2017. I got that one for Christmas. Amazing console. I played it for a long time. And then, I think it was like 2 years ago, I got the Switch OLED, which is where these come from. I don't know where I'm going with this. Oh yeah, back to hardware. Switch 1 was a goated console for a long time. And then, they put a 2 in front of it. Genius. Let's compare. It feels a lot better. In hand, oh my god. Wow, that's the first time I see it like this on camera. Wow, no, the Switch 2 controller is a lot bigger. It just feels a lot nicer in hand. The Switch 1 controller, like, you'd have to hold it really weird, and it'd be, like, really small. And for an adult pair of hands, it was really weird and just kind of awkward to hold. Like, it was so small, like, your bigger fingers would press all the buttons at once, and you'd mess up, and you'd lose. Switch 1 was still fun, don't get me wrong. And then Switch 2 comes along, and fixes that problem. Like, look, my fingers feel small on this one compared to this one. Like, dude. And then I put this down, say, hey, now 1v1 me in Smash and see how well I do. I had a friend in high school. He played Smash Bros on one Joy-Con, and he knew, like, every character. And he was good with every character. I mean, now I can 3-stock him if I really wanted to, but how do you play on something like this when this exists now? The answer, you don't. I was going to throw this behind me for comedic effect, but I don't have anything back there to catch it, so I'm not going to do that. Just pretend I did. Overview of the controllers in general. The new Joy-Cons are so much better. Even just the size difference makes everything so much better. Comfortable in hands, like whenever I have 2 of them, it just feels so much better. And they feel higher quality too. I don't even know how to describe it. I want to say a matte finish, but I feel like that's wrong. This one just feels more plasticky than this one. This one feels more plasticky than this one. You know, it just feels like, I don't even know what to compare it to. Switch 2 controllers, better in my opinion. 100%. The upgrade was definitely needed. Now here's where things take a turn for the worse, which I can't really get too mad about because it's just how the Switch 2 is. But the Switch 1 grip is much better in my opinion. And like I said, it's not something that Nintendo can do to fix it. And I haven't even looked at third-party grips yet, but there might be someone that fixes it. If you find something that is better than the Switch 2 grip, let me know. But the Switch 1 grip just feels so much better in hand. Like, it even looks better. Like, look! It's nice and smooth, and it's like, there's very little flowing issues, if that makes sense. Like, the Switch 1 grip just feels so much better to hold in hand. And then you have the Switch 2. You put these back in, and then you have all this extra space here. Why? I say why even though I know the reason. You have to press the button and move it out to the side. It's not up and down, so you can't have something here like with the Switch 1 grip. So whenever you're putting it on, you have to do it sideways, and then there's just this extra stuff here. It doesn't feel good in hands. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know, like my wrists right here. I do like the extra buttons back here though. That's pretty nice. Remappable, by the way. It just doesn't tickle the pickle for me. That being said, there is one upgrade that I did like. A charger. You can plug this into the Switch and it'll charge. Oh, but Switch 1 probably had that with third party. Does this look like third party to you? Overall, Switch 1 versus 2. Switch 2 controllers are better. Switch 1 grip is better. Are you staying with me? There's going to be a quiz at the end. So now that we have the controllers out of the way, let's go on to the Pro controllers. Now, I don't have the technical original Nintendo Switch 1 Pro controller, but I do have the Smash Bros. Version. Because I'm a nerd. Switch 1 Pro controller, really good in my opinion. Like, even now, I still use it with my Switch 2. Yeah, the buttons are a little... Okay, well, that one fixed. Whatever, I was going to say something about the button, but it was a user error. Even now, I still like using the Switch 1 Pro controller. But the Switch 2 is a lot better. Don't get me wrong. The Switch 1 Pro controller is really good, but the Switch 2 is just a lot better. It really is. Like, there's not even a size difference or anything, really. Like... at first glance, you're like, oh, they're the same, you know? A very minor, maybe color difference even. But in hand, oh my goodness. As much as I love the original, and I love the Smash Bros. Design. Hopefully they'll do another Smash design, dude. I'll buy that one. Shoot, I'll buy 2 of them. Okay, I won't actually buy 2 of them. They'll be like 90. But the Switch 2 Pro Controller is just a lot better in my opinion. They took this and just made it a lot better. I love the Joy-Cons on the Switch 2. But if you hand me this and this, I'm picking this 100% of the time. You have the remappable buttons on the back. You have a spot for headphones, voice chat button, and it feels amazing in hand. The Switch 2 Pro controller, 10 out of 10 in my book. It feels like an Xbox controller. And after holding an Xbox controller, I agree. What I like as well, even just like aesthetically, the Switch Joy-Cons, you have the red and the blue colorway, and even on the inside, you have the red and you have the blue. It's beautiful. Like, even like this, it's amazing. And there's other accessories that I'm going to get to as well. I love the colorway. And then even on something like this, right? They have the white neutral on the grip itself. They did the same thing with the Pro controller. They aren't biased on red or blue. Blue King versus Red King in Clash Royale. They gave it the white neutral. Maybe even a gray. Like, they gave it its own thing. What they could do as well, right? Copy paste this onto this. Overall, Switch 2 Pro Controller, 10 out of 10. Absolutely love it. Switch 1 Pro Controller, still love it. 8 out of 10. I don't think I did it for the Joy-Cons. Switch 2 Joy-Cons, 10 out of 10. Switch 1 Joy-Cons, 5 out of 10. The only time I'd really use these is if I'm playing my Switch 1, or if you don't have any more of these. Don't get me wrong. I love the Switch 1, but oh my goodness, the Switch 2 has done almost everything better. I don't really have any of the Switch 1's version of this at the moment. I'll just input pictures and whatnot. But the Switch 2 also comes with these. Oh, what are the... I'm getting to it. Observe. I hate the grip. Now you have the wrist straps, and you can use them as mice. Nintendo, you're a genius. They're just wrist straps. Like... And they also help with the mouse function, because it's much better to have a flat kind of surface-ish. That's what the black parts on the top and bottom are for. I don't know why I made such a huge deal out of it. It's just wrist straps. And you could technically switch it around, because it has lights on both sides and have a little, like, multicolored, but it doesn't really look that good in my opinion. Really just personal preference. Switch 1, I think you can do the same thing, but the Switch 1s are kind of boring. They're just wrist straps. They don't add any mouse features or anything. Plus they're all black from what I remember. The ones I had anyway were all black. And the Switch OLED, the only difference was that the strap itself had like white stripes on it. To each their own, I guess. I haven't really used them. Like, I don't have any games yet that use the mouse feature, and I do it just to show people, but other than that, they're just there, you know? You can take them or leave them. Upon further review, I actually do like these, because it completely takes out this issue. You get a little bit more of a finish on it, which honestly feels better. like this than if I'm holding it like this. While I'm looking at it, I don't think I can take these out and I just have this, but there might be a third party that can fix that. The straps on the Switch 2 are better than the ones on the Switch 1. So, oh, shoot. I'd give them like an 8 out of 10. If they're there, I'll use them, but I don't use them all the time. Now comes the moment that I think most of you have been waiting for. Let's talk about the screen. I'm just gonna do a quick little, side by side like I did with pretty much everything else. Quick little intermission as well. I definitely recommend getting 2 sets of controllers because you're gonna feel like, assuming you have friends, you're gonna feel like an asshole if you have, your quality Nintendo Switch 2 controllers, and then you give them your Switch 1 controllers from the original Switch back from 2017. Get an extra set of these. It's a little expensive, but dude, just do it. Or get like another Pro Controller and whatnot, Anyway, screens might be a little dirty, but it's whatever. Now what you've actually been waiting for, the screen difference. Oh my god, look at this. We have the Switch 1, which you can see my OBS now. You have the Switch 1, which is great, don't get me wrong. And then you have the Switch 2, which just does it a lot better. Well, let me turn both of them on so you can actually see like the screen difference. One gripe I do have is the Switch 2 only has a regular, and the Switch 1 has a regular and an OLED, which I think is like an LCD or some sort of display. So the Switch 1 screen itself is going to be better. The Switch 1 screen is good, but the Switch 2 is much better. Size-wise, anyway. It's so much bigger. You have your phone, and then you have your tablet. A little bit of a comparison. Try one more time, and if it falls again, I'm not going to do it. So there you go. Now you have a bit of a comparison. I'm trying to get it as level as possible, but it's kind of hard. It's definitely a bit of an upgrade. That all being said, if they release an OLED for the Switch 2, I don't know if it'll be worth it. They did it with the Switch 1. You had your original Switch, the screen was there, but there was a lot of black space on the sides, if you remember. I don't have my Switch 1 on me, but I'll probably put a picture of it up or something. The Switch 1 screen, you have the choice of the LCD and then the OLED. This is the OLED. It's hard to see on camera, but the screen on the OLED is a lot better than the one in the LCD. The Switch 1 has an LCD screen. Why not give it an OLED? Oh yeah, because it's Nintendo. They're greedy. This all being said, the screen isn't bad. Don't get me wrong, the screen is not bad at all. They cooked. They definitely cooked. I'll give them that. The Switch 2 screen, they cooked. And this thing, whenever it's off on camera anyway, it feels massive. Massive. Other than the screen, you have the sides, which stay true to the Joy-Cons, the blue and everything. And then you put them in, and you can't even see the blue, which I don't know why I'm telling you that. But with the controllers in, it feels like a Steam Deck. I don't know why I said that. I don't have a Steam Deck. It's just, it's nice to hold. The Switch 1 will be better in my opinion, probably always. This is nice. Going back to the screen though, it does weigh a bit more. It sounds stupid saying it, like, oh, it weighs more. Yeah, it's bigger, duh. I know, bigger screen, oh, it's harder to carry around. Just get a carrying case, it's not that bad. That all being said, quality of life change as well. This is comparing this to the original Switch. They were not exaggerating in the trailer. I don't know if you've seen that trailer where it like goes all the way back. Like this. Like, I don't know what all you would need this for, because it stands like that. I don't know what you would need this for unless you're like standing above it looking down. It doesn't use up the whole bottom of it like the Switch 1 OLED. Whenever it's down, it just looks nice and clean, and then you have it up, and then you have your little barcode, and then you also have your SD card slot, which I have an SD card. Definitely get one of those. Outside of it, 10 out of 10, and I haven't even gotten to the other bits yet. On the top, you have your power button, you have your volume buttons, your fans, and then the best change of all, in my opinion, is the second charging port. It took what the Switch 1 did poorly and fixed it. You only had this at the bottom. So if you're playing on it, in handheld mode, which, by the way, the Switch 1 OLED, you have to use the whole bottom. I don't know why I'm complaining about it. It's not even that bad. The Switch 1, you had this one charging port, and if you're playing on tabletop mode, you have to pick it up and get like a stand, kind of like what I have going here. The Switch 2, you don't have that problem. If you're playing in handheld, you could just plug it in and keep playing. Like, it's genius. Why didn't they do that in the first one? Why? I know damn well back in 2017, they weren't thinking, let's make a Switch 1, then a Switch OLED, and not fix half the problems the Switch 1 had. And then, let's make a Switch 2 and put the charging port on top as well. That's not what they were thinking in 2017. I know that for a fact. I know they weren't thinking that far ahead. That all being said, the Switch 1 definitely could have used the top charging port. The original battery was not that great, and it degraded really quickly. My Switch 1 battery can't even hold a charge for probably more than 2 hours. I've played on this half the day at one point, and I only had to charge it like once. One final thing about the console itself, the Switch 1, the way that you open up the game card, you have to do it from like the front. You have to like wedge your fingernail in there and then get it out and whatnot, and pull it a little bit. Then usually there's a game card in there that you push down and like get out. It was fine the way it was, but after a while, like the front of it would get messed up. The Switch 2 completely fixes that. On the back, they have like a little slot, right? You put your fingernail in there, and boom, you have your game in there. Then they have like a little locking cartridge thing for Switch 2 games. Much better than the Switch 1. This Switch 2 fixed so many problems with the Switch 1. Now, at the time of recording this, I only have one Switch 2 game, and it's Donkey Kong Bonanza. Comparing the two, there's not that much of a difference. I'm just gonna put pictures up on it because my camera quality is really bad. The Nintendo Switch 2 cartridges aren't that different from the Switch 1. I don't know what's too different about them. Yeah, you can't use it in the Switch 1, but that's really about it. I don't know. Looking at it side by side, the Switch 1 and 2 game cartridges don't look that different. I mean, the Switch 2 cartridge is red. That's really about it. I'm not even going to try to put the Switch 2 game card into my Switch 1 because I don't want to break it or something. I don't know. But you can put Switch 1 games in Switch 2. Duh. Switch 2 game cards, they're the same thing as Switch 1. I'm sure the only difference is performance. Which brings us to performance. What a transition. Wow, I'm really smart. Switch 2 performance, it's just better. I don't know what you expect. The Switch 2 is pretty much like a PS4 or an Xbox 360. I don't remember what they compared it to. I'll put it up on the screen. Even something as small as quality of life changes are pretty apparent on the Switch 2 compared to Switch 1. Take Smash Bros. For example, a game I play quite a lot of. On the Switch 1, whenever you would go to a character, even then it would take forever to load the character's sprite, and then you changed your character color, and it would take 2.5 years to load. Like, you could be done with your match by the time character color 8 is done loading. The Switch 2 doesn't have that problem, or very little of it anyway. The first time I played Smash, I went to my main, K-Rool, the best player in the game. I went to his character, which I think I used like the second to last, and it loaded immediately, which was really nice. And I know, oh, it's like such a little change, this and that, and oh, you're so stupid, this and that. Shush. I'm an idiot. I'm a nerd. There's not much going on up in here. I'm making a Switch 2 review because I'm bored. And because I have a YouTube... Oh, I'm getting a call.
Bye, gang. I'll talk to you later.
Bye. Women. Anywho, back to my little review. In reality, as of now anyway, because Switch 2 doesn't have that many games available, I think there's Donkey Kong Bonanza, maybe one other game. I know they're just re-releasing DLCs for other games, like Mario Wonder and Donkey Kong Bonanza already has a DLC. Nintendo's greedy, man. Overall, performance-wise, the Switch 2 is just kind of a pretty good upgrade to the Switch 1. Like, it's faster, the graphics are better. I mean, comparing even something like Fortnite is just a lot better. It just feels like you're playing on an Xbox, which is really good in my opinion, for a portable console. I don't have much to say as far as, like, software, and it's kind of hard to show in a video without getting my capture card out and everything, and I don't have time for that. I got a busy schedule. It's already December, and I'm like, plus I'm going home for a month, so I might make another recording or something while I'm there, who knows. Quick thing as well, completely forgot, the dock. Off the bat, already looks a lot different. I would show you my Switch 1 dock, but I have to unplug it and everything, and I don't really want to do all that. It's a lot different. It's got the nice rounded edges. It has a Switch 2 on the front. The back seems to have a bit more ventilation. The bottom is completely ventilation. I didn't even notice that till now. Inside doesn't look too different. On the inside, you have your, which I'm just going to put a picture of it up because I'm getting lazy. You have your spot for the power, you have your HDMI, and then you also have a LAN, which is really nice because the original Switch didn't have that. I think it had like another USB or something, which was useful at the time because I didn't really play online games all that much. But now that I'm like almost exclusively online gaming, especially for Smash, I need LAN. And anyone who doesn't have LAN immediately throws my game off. I also suggest you get a LAN cord if you buy a Switch. It definitely helps for online gaming. It also just makes like downloads and whatnot quicker. Inside of the Switch dock is pretty basic. You also have your two USBs on the side, as usual. I don't think any Switch has changed that aside from the light. And then the cover, really nice. You just put it back on, super easy. It sounded like it was magnets, but it's not. Kind of the same as the original Switch OLED, but it's just a bit bigger to help fit the Switch. Pretty nice. Yeah, you got the nice blue and red and whatnot. And there you go. There's the Switch 1 versus the Switch 2. Final thoughts, really. Overall, I think the Switch 2 did the controllers a lot better, unless we're talking, I feel like I can't get over this. If we're talking this, I'm gonna take this, right? And if you give me a set of controllers that's already connected to this, I'm taking the time to take it off. And honestly, if you have these, use them. They make the controllers feel so much nicer in hand compared to the Switch 2 version of this. If you hand me Switch 2 Joy-Cons and you hand me this and this, I'm picking this 10 times out of 10. I like the gray aesthetic that they have going. I'm sure they're going to do different colored Joy-Cons in the future like they did with the Switch 1. If they do colors in the future, I might invest. Who knows? Final Switch 2 rating I'm going to be giving is a solid 9 out of 10. It is a great console itself, don't get me wrong. There's a few things here and there that don't do it for me, like the grip, but that's really kind of it off the top of my head. And I didn't even touch the voice chat and everything, which is really good, actually. I didn't even touch on that I might do a whole different video or something, I don't know. The Switch 2 overall is just really good. It's definitely worth the upgrade. I would say possibly wait until you either have a good Switch 1 game catalog, or wait till there's more Switch 2 games if you're exclusively waiting for the better performed games. The Switch 2 definitely does run Switch 1 games better than the Switch 1 can somehow. That doesn't make sense. That sounds dumb. The Switch 2 definitely can run Switch 1 games well. I'm not saying that it like improves the graphics and this and that. The Switch 2 definitely does run Switch 1 games really well, and it does run Switch 2 games really well. Like, that's what it's supposed to do. Donkey Kong Bonanza, beautiful in my opinion. Might do a review on it once I finish it. Switch 2 is just, it's kind of its own beast. Like, it's not really something you can compare to anything else aside from other Switch family games. This is just kind of a short video, just because I felt like doing a review on it. I do have some friends who are considering getting a Switch 2. Will, actually, you know him, getting this, and I actually convinced him to get it. Honestly, as a college student who got this gifted, I love it. 100% worth the upgrade in my opinion. So anyways, that's gonna about do it for this video. 9 out of 10 for the Switch 2. Probably like a 7 out of 10 for the Switch 1. As of now, you know, in the big 25, almost 26, and mom's calling me. Editor me here. New microphone, new beanie, same shirt. I forgot to record an outro, so here I am now, 3 months later when I finally get to it. That's been my review on the Nintendo Switch 2. Honestly, if you have a Switch 1 and want to upgrade, go for it, but it's not necessarily a needed upgrade, unless you want to be playing things like Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, and any of the games that they re-release, like Mario Wonder, that has a DLC now for Nintendo Switch 2 or whatever. I don't know what Nintendo's doing. Like I said before, they're greedy. I will say, if you don't have a Switch, and you're thinking about buying a Nintendo console like that, go with the Switch 2. It's just a better experience overall than having a Switch 1. Not saying that the Switch 1 is bad by any means, it's still a console of all time. Anyways, that's gonna do it for this video. Leave a like, subscribe if you want to, and, you know, just have a good day.